What is up, my boo-boo patooties? Shabbat shalom. Happy Friday. How is everybody? I'm good. I went and did something cultural tonight. One of the women that I work with is part of a contemporary dance group in Nashville. So I went and saw her performance and it was really, really amazing. You know, it's always up for interpretation, so I'm excited to get to work and ask her about the themes. But it felt like I was watching spiritual awakening and the emotional phases of going through and sifting through all of the subconscious stuff, doing the inner child work, doing the shadow integration. Like it was so abstract, but yet so poignant, the performance. And I don't know, I wish I could describe what was happening, but there was 3 or 4 dancers and there were these piles of clothes everywhere. Then they were putting them on and taking them off, and they were like struggling against all these different emotions, and they would go from like ecstatic and in awe and wonder to like, you know, tiny and shameful and frightened or fearful or defensive. It was really, really moving and intense and very interesting. So that was cool. But yeah, so we're here now to talk about our extended reading for the weekend. I am using the Oracle of the Radiant Sun and the Dreaming Way Tarot. And from the Oracle of the Radiant Sun, I'm going to actually go back after we discuss the message and read those cards, because I felt like they gave a lot of information and a lot of different levels of story that I didn't have room to talk about in the written post on Instagram today. But if you don't already, you can go follow me at Liz_Taylor_Magick on Instagram. And I post our readings Monday, Wednesday, Friday there. And then we come on here and talk about them later in more detail. And while we're talking shop, you are welcome here, and I'm so grateful to have you. I'm thankful for your views and any of your comments and letting me in on your process and things that are going on in your life. Any little action that you take on these videos, like likes, comments, emojis, subscribing to the channel, really helps the messages also get out to other people who can use them and benefit from them. So everything is so appreciated. All right, well, let's begin. So from the Radiant Sun, we've got, this is Mars in Leo, which is egotism. We have Saturn in Pisces, which is loss. And then we have Mars in Virgo, which is criticism. Underneath that, we got Temperance under egotism. We got Judgment under the loss card. And under criticism, we got death. And then underneath it all, we ended with the King of Pentacles. So even though egotism, loss, and criticism sound really harsh, it all ends up great. We all end up in the seat of the King of Pentacles, really on top of our game, on top of our kingdom, right? Seated in good standing with, you know, spirit and with the physical. Instead of reading these last, I'm actually going to read them first, because I think that will help you get more context as we discuss them in context or in regard to their pairings with the tarot cards. So I'll start with egotism. Mars in Leo. A strange bird, half cockerel, half man, crowned, stands proudly for all of us to see. Above is Leo, sun, and a royal Egyptian scarab, to show the eminent position of the cockerel. personal reading would be the fiery planet Mars in the fiery sign of Leo indicates that people with this planet sign aspect will be most fulfilled using their energy in expansive and showy, creative ways. Doing things on a big scale has appeal for this character, more especially if an audience is involved. The tendency to take over and lead others is also strong for this personality type. This dynamic combination of planet and sign inevitably indicates a powerful mutual attraction with the opposite sex. Mars, Leo have a very strong sex drive that needs plenty of activity and appreciation. A great deal of this drive and passion could manifest itself as creative talent and would be worthwhile developing. Competition, sports, and games have great appeal to people with this planet sign combination, and they usually have a talent for working with children in an entertaining or creative way. With Leo's entrepreneurial abilities, this card often indicates a talent for coaching the young in sports, at which Mars Leo can excel. The need for appreciation and admiration is strong. However, the Mars Leo personality makes for a great deal of showing off and over-the-top behavior. Negatively, this may appear to others as authoritative and dictatorial, or dictatorial, like you're a dictator. When this card is drawn in a reading, questioners are advised to look at themselves and their current behavior with regard to the question. The egotism card can indicate that they need to be less bullying and do more to earn the respect of others. A dramatic performance, a great creative enterprise, forcing oneself into the lead, or bullying others. Now, this was what I was picking up on with the temperance card and this egotism card coming out together, is that we need to, like, in one aspect, the way that we have integrated the lessons from our life is great, because the more that we integrate those changes and really embody that transformation, the more we radiate the light of the Creator. But that comes with responsibility, because people are drawn to that energy and they pay attention, and you become a leader in a way, whether or not you want to be or not. And so the best bet is that if you are a reluctant leader, where you're not trying to go out and boss everybody around and tell everybody how they live their life, it's more so like in passing, it's like, hey, I'm the reluctant leader here. I don't want to be telling you, all of these things. Like, why it comes from a place of humility and responsibility. But you're taking responsibility for the fact that maybe you do have really great insights that come from your experience that you've been able to integrate and embody. And it's something that others can glean from. And so you've been given this experience so that you will be set out in a position of, maybe you help talk someone through something that they've been going through, right? But you're not forcing your own will or your ego into the picture, or you're not becoming personally involved in their problems. One of the aspects of this Lost card was that you are very good at being empathetic and understanding with people and understanding their situation, but also it can require that you make sure that you have very strong boundaries as far as being empathic and taking on their feelings in their situation as your own, or taking on their problem as your own, right? It's like you got to set that boundary. So yes, we are not being prideful and egotistical and me. And we are also not forcing our opinions or projecting our expectations or our judgments onto others about their situation. But we are being honest and coming from a place of love. But that requires us to have a very strict sense of responsibility to self-inventory, right? Am I coming from a creator consciousness right now or a destroyer consciousness? Is what I'm saying going to be healing towards a person or a situation, or is it going to break it down more or try to advance my agenda or be some subtle way to passively manipulate, you know? So be careful, because your insights and wisdom, like, there are moments where it's good to share those. But you also have to consider that sometimes in Kabbalah it teaches that sometimes even though we want to say something, maybe it's better not to, right? Maybe it interrupts that person's process. But you just have to like check in and see what you're led to say, what you're led to hold back, you know, and be really sensitive to that. But definitely don't make it about you. Like, be of service, be understanding, and don't be afraid to speak out or to shine, right? On this channel, for instance, I have to do exactly this, what this card is saying. I have to be out here in the spotlight, or so to speak, in public, saying these things and using my experience and wisdom to help others. But I can't go around preaching at people all the time in my life. Like, that would be so alienating. And if the people within my life are coming to me, trusting me with things, then I have to give them space to open up without making it personal or about me. That's talked about in the 4 agreements, right? It's like, it's not about you. Things aren't personal. People are usually just dealing with their own stuff. And so, yeah, maybe there are situations coming up where your experience is coming in handy, where you can help someone else, but you have to be careful not to make it about you, not to push an agenda, and not to like get your pride hurt and get your panties in a wad or whatever, but to be temperance, to practice self-restraint, to integrate and to balance, you know, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, you know, it's like a compromise, but it's like taking parts and integrating them. Somebody the other day was saying it's always hard to find really good ways to describe temperance and the Hierophant. But this girl on her channel the other day, she was saying, she was like, it's like taking hot water, like really hot water and really cold water, and making like lukewarm water. I'm like, that's a great way to describe it. But it's about bringing all of these spiritual revelations into practice so that we can sort of start balancing these governing forces. Okay, so then again, judgment and loss. So let's read loss and then we'll talk about that. Below, a raven pecks at the last scrap of flesh from a bony skull. Saturn is traditionally the planet that can signify loss. Above is a grand house and grounds. Couples stroll in a carefree manner in the evening light. Personal reading. Much of the Saturn Piscean potential for self-discipline and responsibility is invested in helping other people with problems. The sensitivity of people with this planet sign combination to others' needs can make it difficult for them not to become involved in helping people in some way. If this manifests in a professional job, then all is well and good, but the demands will be great. Saturn Pisceans have a strong insight into the motivations of those around them, but should be careful that they don't lose their own identity when faced with other people's demands. Excessive imagination and sympathy can create problems that don't really exist. I'm going to say that again. Excessive imagination and sympathy can create problems that don't really exist. Like, for instance, your imagination running wild and you feeling empathic for other people's feelings around you can trigger you and get your ego involved and then make it about you, and then you get feelings hurt or pride hurt, or you start feeling entitled, and then that leads to anger, right? Excessive imagination and sympathy can create problems that don't really exist, as other people's sadness, sorrows, and losses become their own. Oh, excessive imagination and sympathy can create problems that don't really exist, as other people's sadness, sorrows, and losses become their own. And if you're an empath, that might be something that you struggled with forever. I know that until I knew about what an empath was, that I didn't know that I was feeling other people's feelings, and that I didn't know that I had to learn how to separate what I was feeling from other people's feelings, because it would just bleed into me. And I would be like, I don't know why I'm so sad, or I don't know why I'm so angry today, or whatever. And I wouldn't realize that it was just like I was that sensitive to the energy around me that I was having thoughts and feelings that didn't even belong to me. So this is like setting a boundary where you can, you're going to want to help people. It's part of your calling, right? This awakening that you're in. The Judgment card is an awakening. And it's like getting in alignment with that divine purpose and that divine path, where you see all the experiences and all the things that have ever happened to you have been leading you to this direction, this point. They've all been assignments. They've all served a purpose for something. And so now that you're here, and you can see, you can look into, the circumstances and patterns and things playing out around you, and you can see the connections. And so it's difficult not to get sucked into the drama of the story around you, but instead be that detached observer, watching and observing and taking in the information, but not getting sucked in to that emotional like soap opera with it, right? Okay, often Saturn Pisceans feel the desire or need to work in seclusion or retreat from the world in some way. It may be that they will be attracted to the study of the deeper process in the unconscious mind, and in such interests as psychology. But watch that an excessive tendency to compulsive inward looking does not become over-obsessional. Saturn Pisceans are better looking outward towards others than looking within. When this card is chosen in a reading, it indicates a loss of some kind, but it may be worth thinking about what is really concerned here. Could it be that the inquirer is really worried about someone else's loss, not their own? Events, a feeling of loss, situations involving hospitals or health clinics, work in the field of complementary therapies, counseling others, developing interests in the occult. And so, yeah, I just think that this is, again, like tying into using our experience to be there for others, to be a beacon of light and encouragement, but that comes with responsibility. And so you don't want to interrupt someone's process. You don't want to push your own agenda. You don't want to manipulate. You're not trying to get something out of it, right? It's a very sacred responsibility to have when someone is opening up to you and coming to you for counsel or advice, right? Whether or not it's a friend or like in a client, like healer situation, whatever, what have you. We have to be very sensitive and hold people's development sacred. And that's their soul development. That's their spirituality. We can really have an effect on people's lives. So, be careful and be mindful, but don't hold back. It's like we're here. We need to be out in the spotlight doing this work, right? The people around you that maybe don't do this work for themselves, they can hear something that you may have taken. It may have taken you months or years to come to this conclusion because you've done the work, right? But it can be the one thing that you say that maybe like sets them on a path of like, oh, maybe I need to start doing the work. Maybe I need to start looking into this for myself. But it can't be because you push it on them. It's only because they decide that it seems like a good idea because of the progress that you've made for yourself or because of how much, inner peace you've been able to cultivate. And then we have criticism, which is another one that's not as negative as it kind of comes off at first. Okay. A blue-eyed, wait, hold on. A blue eye stares fixedly at an arrangement of flowers in a simple basket. Above, a finger points accusingly at the necklace of a woman who has a hair braid made of wheat. Mars Virgo energy can find a good outlet in skilled work and craftsmanship. Many people with this planet sign combination are attracted to medicine, and especially areas such as surgery, in which great care and precision is necessary. They also often are skilled with machinery and motors. If the occupation of the Mars Virgoian does not allow this ability for precision or detailed work to be expressed, it can manifest and provide great satisfaction as a specialist spare time interest. Virgos always like to plan things carefully, not liking to fritter away energies. And also Mars usually provides an excess of energy. In this sign, it is well directed and never wasted. This card indicates a propensity for success and even prominence in the work for a well-run organization, probably in areas in which analysis and the study of health, medicine, complementary healing, or dietary control is important. Mars Virgoans tend to be perfectionists and may set themselves impossible standards. In extreme cases, there is a danger that they can then make themselves uncomfortable or even ill with this self-inflicted pressure. Often it manifests in superficial behavior towards others, picking on faults to compensate for what Mars Virgoan feels to be his or her own failure. So like projecting your own insecurities onto others. In a reading, this card indicates a need to be more critical in providing the answer to the question. So go deeper and think more critically about the answer to the question you're posing. Or conversely, that one is being overly critical to the detriment of a situation. To the same degree, be careful not to overly be critical of yourself or the situation. Don't pick something apart, right? Sift through, but don't overdo it. A cooperative research project, a position of responsibility in a large organization, a personal assistant to an important person. So I feel that this criticism on top of the death card, transformation, and with the egoism and the loss and the boundaries and the temperance and the judgment. I mean, we had 3 major arcana cards come up together. I think this really has to do with the fact that your transformation and your spiritual growth and your spiritual insights and your spiritual awakening can have a positive effect on the transformation of others around you. And you may be able to help them pinpoint the connections in their life and go deeper into their critical analysis of self. But you have to be very careful about how you approach this. And it has to be because they come to you, right? People need to come to you about things. When we go to others to try to give them unsolicited advice, it's not spiritual. It's destructive. It's like you're coming with an agenda and it's not sharing anymore. It's like forcing. So it's the difference between a hard sell and just like sharing a link, you know? But yeah, so criticism, it can be good, right? It can be really great for an editor to be able to look at something in very deep detail and not miss a single detail and be able to get in the nitty-gritty and make the cuts and the match cuts that are going to make the most sense to drive the story forward, right? But also do it in a streamlined, smooth way. I do this with my clients. I have to get into their reading and consider their soul's direction and pinpoint, okay, these are the things that are coming up that are probably going to be holding you back right now. And I think this is what the universe is presenting you. And I think this is connected to this kind of thing, but they come to me, right? But it's using it in a positive, creative, and constructive way. Where this wouldn't be good is, you know, where it would not bring positive death, but actual negative death, is if you're criticizing someone all the time and tearing them down or talking bad about people behind their back, right? That brings negative death, destruction, pain, hurt, wounds that have to then be like worked through, right? So yeah, be sensitive about that. Embrace this about yourself. You know, all the qualities that we have can be both really positive, and they can have their shadow aspects too. So it's not that we want to reject those aspects. We just want to integrate them in a healthy way. And I think that this reading is very encouraging towards integrating our insight in a healthy way when people come to us about it, but just being really gentle. And I think it's going to be really good for everybody involved, because the King of Pentacles came out last. And so the King of Pentacles is the character in the suit of Pentacles, which is our material world. This is where we have our comings and goings, our jobs, our relationships, like the physical things in our life, our routines, our health, like the way that we live our life. Like we've kind of got it to a certain degree of self-mastery. But by sharing the light and radiating the light, we are only going to draw more blessings in. The more that we share with others, the more we will also glean those blessings. So yeah, great things. Be very careful though, very sensitive and very authentic. Do not speak. It's better not to say anything if you think that you're saying something because you want something for you when it comes to someone else's growth or process. It can be hard for parents. I know that my difficult relationship with my parents has to do with them trying to project and control me, project their beliefs and ideas and agendas onto me, and trying to, you know, have some kind of entitled idea that they can tell me that I shouldn't be doing this, right? Because they don't understand, and they're coming from a good place. They don't want me to go to hell. They're just being good Christians according to their beliefs. It's just that they're not, I don't know, I think they're missing the point of what I'm doing. And so they don't get it, right? But I can't let them stop me, right? But that's where the ego, the loss, the enmeshment, you need to change everything you're doing to make me more comfortable kind of thing, making their problems my problems. I had to learn to let all that go and just do my thing anyway. Right? So it can go both ways. You can be, a positive influence that helps, is a healing influence. And you can learn and teach people, or you can be, more tyrannical and heavy-handed and hellfire and brimstone and, wagging the finger of judgment. And that never has good results, right? It just pushes people away and alienates people and causes religious and spiritual trauma. So gentle, easy does it. Let the birds land on your hand, which is the other depiction of temperance that we've been seeing in the other deck recently a lot. It's like this girl sitting very calmly and quietly with her hands open, and the doves are landing and they're coming and going. All right, you guys. Well, I am going to get off here and enjoy some delicious dinner and a hot shower, and then I'm going to go to bed because I've got a busy weekend at work ahead of me. All right, I'll see y'all. Ciao.